A conversation with the candidates. Learn more right after this.
My college offers classes that meet my educational and career goals.
With opportunities outside of the classroom,
where the faculty know me by name.
My college can prepare me for my career.
I can earn an associate's degree and transfer credits to a bachelor's.
My college is a state college within the university system of Georgia.
My college offers courses that fit my schedule.
It's where excellence begins.
we are.
We are.
We are.
We are GHC, Georgia Highlands College.
Welcome to Community Watch, Greg.
Doc.
How you doing?
Fine.
And I know you are immersed in the local elections.
I am.
And so, like myself, you are looking forward to meeting our candidates in today's show, which is for the position of Clerk of Court. And our first guest, our first candidate, is Barbara Pinson, Republican candidate for Clerk. Welcome to the show.
Thank you kindly. I appreciate you gentlemen asking me to do this.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and get started.
For our viewers who may not know, what are the primary duties of the position of Clerk of Superior Court?
Many, many duties, but the primary duties are to maintain all court records. We have 4 Superior Court judges, and our offices maintain all those records. In addition to that, the other primary work task that we have that we're mandated by law to do is to maintain all real estate land records in all of Floyd County, Rome and Floyd County. There are over 20,000 parcels. So every time one of those parcels changes hands, it's our duty to keep a clean record of who bought it, who sold it, you know, all the way back to its original land record history. When attorneys do history checks of land, most of them go back at least 50 years. A lot of them go back 100 years to check to make sure there's nothing, no liens or anything against that property. That's the 2 main things. But in between there we have lots of things we do. In 2010, it was mandated by legislation that we take over the Board of Equalization. That has become a very heavy task, which clerks across the state were told that it wouldn't be too much. But it's become a very taxing task. When I say Board of Equalization, I have 12 part-time employees that are appeals hearers. They hear the appeals for Board of Equalization. That means, like if you, Greg, if you have property in Floyd County, the tax assessor appraises your property, but you disagree with that property appraisal, you can file an appeal, and that appeal will come to the Board of Equalization. The law states that I have to have 3 members on each board and 3 alternate members on each board. Floyd County's population and real estate land records meet the size to where we have to have 2 boards. We have 2 boards. Now, some large counties have 20 boards, you know, like in the metro counties and stuff. But we have 2 in Floyd County, so therefore I have 6 members and 6 alternate members on the Board of Equalization. We issue notary licenses. We handle adoptions. We handle divorce records. That's part of your civil records and stuff. And then, of course, all of our felonies, our misdemeanors and stuff. So it's a busy place in the clerk's office. I've just touched on what all we do.
So what is your interest in the position, and what skills do you hold that make you the best candidate?
My interest in the office is that I have a long working background dealing with records and keeping them safe and secure, always maintaining and constantly keeping them updated and so forth. I planned for this position many years before I ran for the job. As some people have heard me say, my predecessor could not be beat Many people tried and many people failed. So I knew not to try to run against him. So he knew that I was looking at this job, and so his family contacted me and said, our dad's not going to run again. And so at that point, I immediately jumped on board, started aligning everything. In preparation for this job, though, I had taken a real estate course and passed it from a local company here in town, because I felt like my knowledge was what I personally knew, the property that I had bought and stuff in the past. So I prepared myself so that I would know the terminology dealing with real estate records. And then in addition to that, I was the records keeper for the county schools for almost 30 years. At the time I left there, which was in 2008, we had 1,864 employees. Each of those employees had to have staff development, meaning they had to renew certification no matter if they were teacher, principal, administrator, custodial, lunchroom. They all had to have some type of certification. Bus drivers. I was the person who kept those records. And I always try to find time that, if somebody had by accident missed a class and we're going to have to recertify, I would always try to pick up the phone and call them just to give them a little prompt. It wasn't my job, but I did that. I just felt like it was a big help to them, and it certainly kept our records up to date. And in addition to that, I was also in charge of student records for a long period of time. We had almost 10,000 students when I was at the county schools. So I have a very, very long, rich history in keeping records, knowing how important they are, student immunization records, and all that had to be kept up with. We had to make sure we had it on every student in the school system. So I felt like my work experience, along with my professional education, training and stuff, prepared me greatly for this position. And I was elected in July of 2008, and I took office January 1st of 2009. And I can tell you, gentlemen, we have made some major improvements since I've been there. It's been tough, as y'all know. The economy, bottom fell out of it about the time I became the clerk. In the first 2 years I was there, my budget, which was already lean, got cut 8%. So it was tough. It was very tough, especially knowing that I had prepared a 1-year, a 5-year, and a 10-year strategic plan. Getting to carry that out was going to really be a major task. But I can proudly say things have gotten a little better. I've been able to get a lot of help from the state. The county has done all they can. A lot of people pull out of that same pot of money. A lot of people in the county are wanting the same dollars I'm wanting. So it's a matter of give and take. And so I feel like I've had a very good working relationship with our county commissioners, with our department heads. I cooperate with them, they do with me. We have a good working relationship. And the way I got my clerks some new technology was after I'd been there about 2 years, there was no funding through the county. It wasn't coming. And some of their computers were very old. As a matter of fact, the software that we were using and are still using today has not been updated since 1994. That houses all of our civil criminal records. Literally, there's been no updates. So one of my latest missions has been to come up with the money to move off of that old software. So I've engaged everybody from the governor's office all the way up and down the chain of command, the county commissioners, the county manager. They've all been on board trying to help me. In 2014, I was successful in doing presentations, PowerPoints, making appearances and stuff in front of the SPLOST committee, and I was successful in getting $500,000. And at that time, I was thinking we would be fine because I knew that's what I needed to implement the software. But then to my sudden news, the commissioners were not willing to sign a contract because you have to sign them for 5 years. And this would have obligated them for a 5-year period of time. Well, it didn't make me exactly happy, but I had to understand because they didn't have the funds flowing in. Currently, the contract that we do have signed, the commissioners have agreed to, is going to run about $91,000 per year. So I have $500,000, okay? That still was not going to be enough for a 5-year contract. So I started working with the state, and like I said, with the governor's office. And I have been successful now in that Governor Deal is going to, or he has already set aside a pot of money to get clerks like myself. There are 8 of us. I have the largest population county that still is running this old software. So in order to get us off of this, he's put aside this pot of money, and he said, I'm putting Floyd County at the top of the priority list. He feels that our need is greater than the other counties because their population is much smaller than ours. So we are in the midst of that project now, as I'm talking to you, implementing the new software and getting it going. The governor is paying for the whole first year. Implementation, migration of the old records off of the old system, training of my clerks, and basically any ancillaries or anything that we need to move this thing forward. He is that serious about getting all of the counties off of this old software because one day there's going to be something happen that it can't be patched. And the real estate records, that was a story that I'm very proud to share with anybody. When I approached the commissioners, I needed $96,000 to get all of my real estate records scanned and put online. That was in 2012. And of course, once again, you know, the economic downturn, there's no money there. So I thought to myself as I left the meeting with the commissioners and I walked back over to my building from theirs, and I thought, we will find a way. We will make this happen. So I sat down with my chief deputy, who's been working in the clerk's office 38 years, and we devised a plan whereby that we could do this without it costing the taxpayers a whole lot of money. We set off on that journey. It was about August of 2012. Okay, what we did is I had to buy an external hard drive. I had to buy a scanner. It's a huge machine. It's actually made in Germany. It's called Zuchel. Some people look at it and they have no idea what it is because some of our books are huge, you know, some of them are small. So we had to have something that would accommodate everything. So it's a flatbed scanner. It balances some of the old books because they don't come apart. And I treasure those old books like that. I'm very protective of them. So anyway, we set off on this journey, and 3.5 years later, we accomplished it. Every one of those deed records were scanned in. The way I did it, gentlemen, is we used over 4,500 hours of community service labor. Now, mind you, I bought the scanner. I had to pay for it out of 2 years of supply budget because I didn't have enough money to buy it in one single year. So I talked the company into selling it to me, let me pay half now and pay the other half next year. That's what we done. It cost $18,000 for the scanner. That's my whole year supply budget. So anyway, we bought this scanner. We set off on it, and I got the clerk's authority to give me scanners, desktop scanners for the small pages. I had people working in every crack and crevice in that office over there. But see, there was a component of this now that I had to encounter. Community service workers are people that the judges sentence, that don't have a job, that don't have money, income, so they couldn't pay their fines. So the judges said, I talked to them and they said, well, I'll send them to you, Ms. Pinson, and you can interview them. If you think you can handle them, if you think they're qualified to do something you need for them to do, you use them. So literally I had to log their hours because see, they're having to report it to the court. And so I logged their hours, 4,500 plus hours later. We finished this task. It has had at least 5 sets of eyes on every page to make sure we did not miss or scan one sideways or anything like that. Many, many, many days and hours we put into this. And I'll tell you, there were a lot of days that I just wanted to pull my hair out. But we kept going on this journey. And amazingly, it is done. All of our deed records are currently online and available 7/24/365 by your any kind of electronic devices. And I've also, in conjunction with that, we set up a website, FloydSuperiorCourt.com. You go there, you go under real estate, and you can pull up any records back to 1833. Now,
well, Ms. Pinson, I'm afraid we're going to have to end it here.
All right. There's so much to talk about.
You've been Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you all.
We'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
My college offers classes that meet my educational and career goals.
with opportunities outside of the classroom.
Where the faculty know me by name.
My college can prepare me for my career.
I can earn an associate's degree and transfer credits to a bachelor's.
My college is a state college within the university system of Georgia.
My college offers courses that fit my schedule.
It's where excellence begins.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are GHC, Georgia Highlands College.
Welcome back to Community Watch. We've been joined by the Democratic candidate for Clerk of Court, Joan Ledbetter. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And we'll just go ahead and get started.
Let's do.
For our viewers who may not know, what are the primary duties of the position of Clerk of Superior Court?
There are a multitude. Clerk of Court, Clerk of Superior Court's office is the place where all the public documents are taken, filed, many of them stamped. A lot of them have to go back to, say, an attorney that's filing them, and that's where they're maintained. And you're looking at property records like deeds, civil and criminal cases, domestic. If you're getting divorced, it's got to go through there. It gets stamped, goes back, gets copies. But these are all vital records that need to be kept. Adoptions, anything that goes through the court system. Very, very important that these are maintained for historical purposes, for individual purposes on day to day. Somebody's got to have a certain document showing that their divorce or marriage or adoption to be able to get other public services. Or someone needs to go and look up a deed, make sure that there's not a lien on a property, that it's a free title. So very, very important. Notary public certification goes through there. People go to the clerk's office to look up things, but now a lot of things are also online. But it doesn't sound, you describe it to somebody and it's a paper, but it's vital in importance to the community and to the individuals that need it. And there's a lot that goes on as far as the clerk sitting in the courtrooms and making sure all those records are straight. Even some clerk offices will put in traffic tickets right there in the courtroom for efficiency. Things have just changed dramatically over the years. If you needed a restraining order, say on Dr. Hershey here, you would want that done immediately. And that office is responsible for those things getting done in a timely manner. So it's vital to the people that are using the office.
All right. What is your interest in in the position, and what skills do you hold that make you the best candidate?
Wow. Well, I really didn't have interest. I had not thought about it until someone called. This past spring, there were people that had been in the party in certain positions that changed parties, and so I got a call from the Democratic Party saying, hey, we need to get some candidates going here, and I talked it over, I talked to a lot of people, and as it just so happened, I was kind of in between. I had just left my job to finish my dissertation, and I was looking for something new and challenging locally where I could stay in my community and make a difference and not be gone. So I thought about it, I talked to a lot of people, and I thought this is up my alley because I have done so many things that fall into this, which leads to the second part of your question about why am I experienced or education that would go toward it. I've got, besides a psychology degree and a lot of classes in that area that I think helps with working with people, I've got a master's in education, community and occupational that has to do with community programs, and I have a master's in business leadership, and then I just finished my doctorate in educational leadership and administration. And a lot of those courses had to do with leadership and management. Now, I've also worked in various departments, from being an executive assistant handling records and personnel, faculty and students. Education-wise, I've worked in various areas, from a career center director to a advising director and a college professor. I've also been a probation officer. So I know how important the office is for, getting those records straight and in a timely process. I've also worked in numerous positions where it was administrative and you had to deal with records confidentiality, managing budgets. So all that brings into the job because the job has all of that. It's multifaceted.
Also, I've been a single parent, and I have a real heart for the importance of treating everybody with respect and helpfully getting them the information and the records they need in a timely manner, because I've been there, and that's really hard when you can't get what you need, and it's like you need it to be able to go buy groceries the next day. And like I say, I talked to a lot of people, and it just seemed to click. My father was an attorney for a long time, and I'd worked in his office some. My brother was an attorney for a long time, and my Aunt Virginia was the deputy clerk of court for many, many years. She worked in the courthouse under Joe Johnston for a long time, and so there's just a real strong tie-in. I have a feel for the office, and I feel like my variety of education and work experience will play into what I can do there.
Okay. Why is the clerk of court an elected position as opposed to a position filled through an application and hiring process?
I've been asking people that a lot, and usually they say, I don't know. Sometimes I hear, I haven't researched it, I haven't had time to really research it to the fullest extent, but from what I hear and people's suppositions, I really think that it has a lot to do with control. I think sometimes some of these local positions that have to do with control from the different parties, because I've heard of one party, Democratic Party or the Republican Party, wanting to take it out, but when they're in power, they want to keep it in. So I think it has to do, for some reason, of being able to say, these are our people. I don't think it should be partisan whatsoever. Like a lot of these local positions, it doesn't make sense. I don't even think it should be elected. Honestly, and I may be wrong on this, but my feeling is that it should be more of a hired position, like a school superintendent, where you've got the county commissioners that would hire somebody, you've got a board as an advisory board and that will review you, because right now with elected positions I don't see a lot of accountability. Who is there doing the performance review and checking to see if things in the office are done? I think there should be, in some clerks' offices I have seen on their website where they have a strategic plan and they'll do an annual report. I think like with this office you should have that, newsletters, and a lot more information out there that would be helpful to the public. But to me, it should be a hired position, because then, say on a contract, like a school superintendent, say 6-year contract, 4, 5, 6 year, whatever, to give the person enough time to be able to do some good work, and then review it. Because a lot of times voters really don't see people's resumes, and they're not that familiar with the job, and they don't know what goes on.
Do you believe that local elected positions, including clerk of court, should have term limits?
Oh, that's a hard one, and honestly, I've not really thought about that as far as local, because I think that there should be term limits in general with political positions. I just don't think this should be a political position. And that's why my husband and I had difficulty at first. I started a PayPal account on my website, and I was going to take donations like you're supposed to do. And we were just like, we can't do this. So the money that's been given, somebody's handed me a check or they put it on PayPal, which that was only my sister that did that one time. But the checks, money I've gotten, all of that I've turned over to charity. And a few people I said, you donate it yourself, you know where it wants to go, or you want it to go, or I'll donate it. And I'll turn in the check to somebody. And we've given it all to charity, because it doesn't make any sense. Term limits, yes, I do, if it's elected. I struggle with that, because I think once you get in the job and you really know it well, if you're doing a great job, then I think there should be the competition. But to me, a review every few years would show that, and then that board could bring in more people to interview and decide if they wanted to keep that person or bring in someone else.
Court cases of all kinds seem to take forever to make it to court. What can be done to streamline that movement and make it more efficient?
Well, a lot of things that are already taking place. I believe everything should be online. Everything should be securely put online, and a lot of courts already do have it online in other states, and it's even Fulton County here, it's mandatory that they e-file. And e-filing is coming. It's starting with our court system, but it's slow. Real estate records, and even criminal and civil courts. A lot of courts do it completely online. And it's coming here, but there's some resistance. So what I would do is I would get that going full force, and I would have outreach to a lot of these attorneys that have practiced a long time and they're wonderful, but they're not really interested in learning something new, or in the secretaries. And I would have a lot of outreach and have workshops on how to e-file, make sure, and do some PR campaigning to get people more interested and do that more quickly. Otherwise, making sure that records are handled as efficiently as possible. And hopefully they are, but I think the technology is the big end there.
All right. As records are being kept more and more with technology, how can we be assured that our records are safe from being lost, and what protects them from being hacked?
Well, you've got IT people that handle that, and I don't have the technical skills to give you the details on that. But that is a big problem, because there are a lot of agencies, as we know. We've had a lot of governmental agencies hacked. And someone asked me that fairly recently, and I thought this was amazing. It was a group of school children that came by the Democratic headquarters on field trip, and they'd been to the Republican office. And these school children wanted to come and visit to learn about the democratic process and all, and they had some great questions. And one was a young man, this was elementary students, pretty low level, and one was a young man that asked about hacking. And I said to them, and I don't mean this as a joke, but honestly, these are public records, for one. I mean, other than sealed juvenile records, these are records that the public can get anyway going in, and who would really want to hack these type of records? Especially when you can get them by legal means. And there's such a thing as the Open Records Act. So if someone really needed or really wanted them, they can get them fairly easily anyway. So I don't think this is a major issue. I think the most important thing is storage. And of course that would be done, is done safely.
Public trust is an essential aspect of the clerk's office. How can you assure the employees of the clerk's office? How can you ensure that employees of the clerk office can be fully trusted with court records?
Well, that is paramount, but that's the same issue in so many jobs. You hire the best people, and you supervise well. I mean, I don't believe in micromanaging by any means. You shouldn't need to do that. You hire good people, and then you come in and you set the standard and the bar, and you lead by example. And the way I like to manage, lead, is by example. And if someone does anything that is unethical, then depending on the level, then there's repercussions, and that person should not work there. That's the biggest thing. But to me, you have to hire people with integrity, do the best job of vetting you can, and then set a good example.
All right. What would you consider the aspect of the clerk's office that is being handled especially well, and what area needs the most improvement?
Well, from what I understand, the current clerk, Ms. Pinson, has done a good job of getting the records digitalized, because when she went in, they were not, and that's a major undertaking. So I believe that she has worked hard at getting records online to where they're not just all paper records in the warehouse, because that's not a good situation. How things could be done differently, I don't have time to go into all I'd like to say, but communication-wise, I would develop a better website and have more information there, and have a customer service type survey where people can give you complaints, suggestions, remarks, compliments anonymously. Because I think customer service is a #1 priority, and I would do more outreach. I would do things like work with the district attorney and help to make sure that all of these citizens that need restitution get it.
Okay. Well, thank you for being with us.
I've enjoyed it.
And we'll be right back after this.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Community Watch. We've been talking with the candidates for Clerk of Court. Do not forget to vote November 8th. November 8th, right?
Early voting,
Okay.
October 17th.
Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.